Heartwarming encounter. Billionaire discovers his daughter learning from a homeless girl. What follows will change everything. Mark, the polished CEO of a thriving tech firm, existed in a whirlwind of accolades and high-stakes meetings. Surrounded by sleek glass walls and buzzing ambition, he wore power like a tailored suit. But despite the height of his empire, his heart sank. Each day flew by, leaving behind a bittersweet echo of his 12-year-old daughter Mia's laughter, a sound that felt like a distant memory. The bright spark in her eyes dulled, overshadowed by his relentless pursuit of success. Their connection frayed as he talked about profits and projections, while Mia yearned for a father who would listen, someone who could guide her in a world outside her plush existence. One sunny Saturday, yearning for a break from his gilded cage, Mark plucked Mia from her room and whisked her to a park downtown. The vibrant sun kissed the earth, bursting colors into life, yet the sight of homeless individuals huddled together ignited his discomfort. Anxiety prickled at his skin as he grabbed Mia's hand, intent on moving past the encampment without engaging. But Mia, curious and empathetic, felt a tug towards a scrappy 10-year-old girl named Rosie. Rosie's spirit shone brightly amidst her circumstances, her eyes darting with enthusiasm as she spun tales of adventure and magic. As Mia listened, her heart danced to the rhythm of Rosie's words, igniting a passion for painting she hadn't known existed. Laughter flew freely between the girls, weaving a tapestry of friendship woven from shared stories of dreams and resilience. But Mark stood in the shadow, a cloud of unease hanging over him like a storm. He glimpsed colorful paintings scattered across their dining table, each stroke alive, each hue vibrant. Instead of nurturing Mia's newfound passion, he jumped into the fray, organizing art classes, fingers twitching for control. Each move meant well, yet every decision seemed to push them further apart. Mia's laughter faded into the background, like a haunting melody slipping through his grasp. Things spiraled when Rosie received an eviction notice. Suddenly, Mark had to face the uncomfortable truth of his own biases. His heart raced, dread swelling in his chest like a balloon about to burst. Was this how he'd allowed life to play out? The realization gripped him tightly. The real rewards in life weren't found in material wealth, but in genuine connections that bridge divides, both seen and unseen. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can, drop a like. It really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference.
Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With the harbor of understanding shifting in him, Mark and Mia brainstormed a community fundraiser for Rosie, propelling their bond as they began to unite their worlds. Excitement bubbled up, but so did trepidation. Could they create something meaningful? Would they manage to bridge that societal divide? As the countdown to the event began, Mark reflected on his ability to truly listen, and Mia was faced with discovering how much of her heart she was willing to lay bare, leaving the nature of their relationship hanging in a delicate balance. Underneath the looming pressure of the approaching day, both father and daughter stood poised on the edge of change, wondering if they could weave a new story together. The day of the fundraiser unfolded like the first strokes of paint on a blank canvas. Mark woke up early, the sunlight streaming through the curtains, illuminating the hope he had for this event. He glanced at Mia, still deep in sleep, her hair spilling across the pillow like a cascading waterfall. She looked so peaceful, so untouched by the weight of the world. He wanted to protect her from everything, the judgments, the challenges, the harshness that he had grown accustomed to. As he prepared for the day, Mark's thoughts drifted to Rosie's situation. Today was not just about raising money, it was about opening hearts. He wanted Mia to understand that this was more than charity, it was about community, connection, and compassion. So why did he still feel that gnawing anxiety twisting in his stomach? Mia finally emerged from her room, her face a mix of excitement and nerves. She wore a bright yellow dress, one that seemed to mirror the optimism that flickered within her. "Dad, is everything ready?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Almost there," he replied, giving her a reassuring smile. It wasn't just an answer, it was a promise. They made their way to the community center, where people were already gathering, the buzz of chatter filling the air. Colorful posters adorned the walls, each advertising the art class Mark had helped organize, showcasing Mia and Rosie's paintings. Mark felt a warm rush of pride. If today was a success, it could change everything for Rosie. As they set up the tables for the art auction, Mark watched Mia dart around with enthusiastic energy, chatting with guests and engaging them with stories about the girls' friendship. This was the daughter he had almost lost, and in this moment, he felt a glimpse of the connection they could rebuild. But in the middle of a smile, his gaze caught Rosie, standing awkwardly at the edge of the crowd, clutching a tattered sketchbook to her chest. Her usual spark seemed dimmed by uncertainty. Mark's heart sank. He approached her with cautious steps, remembering the spark that had lit Mia's eyes the first time they met.
"Hey, Rosie," he said gently. "Are you excited for today?" She shrugged, looking down. "What if no one likes my art? What if they just see me as a homeless girl?" His chest tightened at her words. "Rosie, they're going to see you for exactly who you are, an amazing artist with a story to tell." He knelt down to her level, his eyes sincere. "Art isn't about what others think. It's about expressing yourself. You've got something special, and today is about sharing that." Rosie looked up, a flicker of hope igniting her eyes. The corners of her mouth turned into a small smile, softening the shadows on her face. "You really think so?" "I know so," Mark replied, feeling a new surge of determination. He knew this was the moment both girls needed to shine. As the event kicked off, Mark watched Mia and Rosie embrace the crowd's energy, their laughter rising above the murmur of voices. Suddenly, he was overcome with a deep realization. This day wasn't just for Rosie, it was an awakening for him, too. The fear, the judgments, it all started to fade. Just as the evening began to draw to a close, a hush fell over the crowd. Mark took the mic, his voice steady. "We often forget that true wealth is in the relationships we forge, the compassion we show, and the stories we share. Rosie, this moment is for you." The crowd erupted in applause, but Mark's gaze was focused on Mia and Rosie, their faces beaming. But just then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed a figure approaching. His heart raced. Could the past come crashing back, threatening the fragile bond forming in front of him? As he turned to face the newcomer, he braced himself for what might come next. Mark's breath caught in his throat. The figure approaching them wasn't just anyone. It was Paul, his estranged brother. The last time Mark had seen him, it hadn't ended well. Memories flooded in, old wounds reopening like fresh scars. Paul had always been someone who took what he wanted, leaving chaos in his wake. And now, here he stood in front of the fundraiser, smirking as if he belonged. "Mark," Paul said, the tone of his voice dripping with practiced charm. "What are you doing here, Paul?" "Oh, I just happened to be in town and thought I'd pop in. You know, I'm always interested in charitable endeavors." Paul's gaze settled on Rosie, and for a flicker of a second, Mark saw disdain cloud his expression. "Interesting choice of art," he continued, his words soaked in condescension. Before Mark could respond, Rosie, sensing the tension, clutched her sketchbook closer. Her eyes darted between Mark and Paul, uncertainty shadowing her face. It twisted his heart. They were supposed to be here celebrating, and now this. "Excuse me," Mark said sharply, stepping closer to Rosie, his protective instincts kicking in. "This isn't the time for your games, Paul. We're here for a purpose."
"Relax," Paul replied, raising his hands in mock surrender. "I'm not trying to cause any trouble. You know me better than that." He leaned back against a table, an arrogant grin plastered on his face. "Just looking to see how my little brother is doing." Mia stood behind Mark, a mix of confusion and concern on her face. Mark glanced back at her, then back at Paul. "You're not welcome here. What do you want?" Paul's expression twisted slightly, the charm slipping away. "What I want is to understand what's got you so distracted. Are you really willing to throw everything away for this?" He gestured broadly at the paintings and their supporters, disdain barely hidden in his voice. "For a homeless girl's art?" Mark's anger flared. "Rosie isn't just a homeless girl. She's talented. You wouldn't understand that." "Oh, but I do, Mark. Talent is just a currency for the wealthy," Paul sneered. "And you, pandering to the poor, how noble of you. But you and I both know how fickle charity can be." In that moment, Mark felt every wound of their shared past clawing at him. He couldn't let Paul ruin this day. He needed to protect Rosie, protect Mia, and reclaim the moment. "Believe it or not, I'm doing this for Rosie, for Mia, for a community. The world isn't measured by money or status. You might be rich, but it doesn't make you better than anyone else,"
Mark shot back, his voice steady. Paul's smile faded, revealing irritation. Keep playing the hero if you want, but just remember, all this, it's temporary, just like your newfound connection with them. Mark turned, trying to shield Rosie from Paul's negativity. He could see the doubt creeping back into her eyes, the flicker of insecurity reigniting. "Hey, Rosie," he said softly, kneeling next to her. "Don't let him get to you. You've worked hard, and what you have is beautiful." Mia took Rosie's hand, squeezing it in a silent gesture of solidarity. Rosie looked at them, the warmth seeping back into her resolve. Mark stood, ready to confront his brother again, when he interrupted. "You think this makes you a saint? You could have had it all, but you chose this." He nodded dismissively at the gallery of paintings. "A warm heart doesn't put food on the table." That stung. For a moment, Mark felt the foundations of his purpose shift underfoot. Was he making the right choice? Could it all be in vain? But as he looked at Mia and Rosie, he felt strength in their unity. It's not just about money. It's about the connections we make, the lives we touch. That's something you'd never understand. Just then, laughter and chatter filled the air as the first auction items were revealed. Something shifted within him, igniting a fierce fire. "I guess you'll see for yourself soon," he said, his voice rising above the noise. Paul grinned, but it was devoid of warmth. "Oh, I will. I'll be watching this train wreck unfold." As Paul stepped back to mingle with the crowd, Mark turned to Mia and Rosie.
They needed to focus on why they were here. The night was young, and the art was just beginning to flow through the crowd. But deep within, Mark couldn't shake the doubt. Was the family he tried to build strong enough to face the past? Could they truly find healing amidst the chaos? He clenched his jaw and prepared to jump into the evening with renewed spirit. But little did Mark know, an unexpected visitor was about to step forward and shake everything he thought he knew. What secrets would the night reveal? Mark tried to shake off Paul's presence, focusing instead on the vibrant art pieces lining the walls of the gallery. The laughter, applause, and excitement from the guests had shifted the air around him, yet the lingering tension from Paul gnawed at his thoughts. He wanted this night to be special for Rosie, to showcase her talent and the hard work she had put into her art. Mia leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you okay?" "Not really," Mark admitted, attempting to regain his composure. I can't stand the way he talked to you guys. It makes me feel helpless." "You're not helpless, Mark," Mia countered firmly. "You've done so much for Rosie. Just look at her face. She's excited." Mark turned to Rosie, whose expression had softened, though shadows still veiled her bright eyes. She was looking at one of her paintings, her fingers brushing the edge of the frame like it was fragile glass. That spark of passion was undeniable. He didn't want to let Paul extinguish it. "Hey, Rosie," he said, nudging her gently. "Do you want to talk about your art?" Rosie nodded, biting her lip. I worked really hard on this one. It's about hope." Her voice trembled slightly, and she avoided eye contact. I recognized the fear lurking beneath her excitement. "It looks amazing. I can see your heart in it." At that moment, a commotion at the entrance caught their attention. A tall man, sharply dressed and exuding confidence, pushed through the crowd, causing heads to turn. A hush fell over the room as the elegantly dressed figure stepped closer. Mark squinted, confusion taking over. "Who is that?" "Isn't that—" Mia began, but was interrupted by an unexpected burst of energy. "Paul!" the man boomed, extending a hand toward Mark's brother, breaking through the barrier that had built between them. "You didn't tell me you were back in town." Paul's face lit up with artificial delight. "Sam, great to see you. You remember my little brother, Mark?" He turned, showcasing their sibling dynamics, a move both casual and intended to belittle. Mark's pulse quickened. He had read about Sam when he was building his career, a billionaire philanthropist known for funding art initiatives and community projects. But what struck him most was the way Sam's eyes honed in on Rosie. There was a flicker of recognition, followed by interest. "You have some work here?" asked Sam, gesturing toward Rosie with a genuine smile.
Yes," Rosie stammered, her uncertainty shifting to wide-eyed surprise. "Fantastic. I love discovering new artists, especially those with a unique perspective. Sam enthused, stepping closer to inspect her piece. The air seemed to thrum with potential. Mark exchanged glances with Mia. A sense of urgency surged in him. If Sam became interested in Rosie's art, it could change her life. "What do you think?" Rosie asked, biting her nails as she added, "It's about the struggles people face, but still finding light." Sam nodded thoughtfully. "That's deep. It speaks to the resilience of the human spirit." Mark watched as a hint of confidence returned to Rosie, her shoulders straightening slightly. "Thank you," she said shyly. As the conversation flowed, Mark realized he needed to shake off Paul's negativity. Rosie deserved this moment. He had to fight for her, to ensure she didn't get lost in the shadows again. "Rosie," he said, cutting in, "this is the moment. Show him your heart." With renewed strength, Rosie stepped forward, her voice trembling less. "I want people to see that art can change lives," she said, surprising even herself with the power in her words. But just as the moment felt right, Paul leaned in closer, his voice low but clear. "Don't get your hopes up, Rosie. Philanthropists look for profit, not passion." Mark's gut twisted in anger. He wanted to protect her from those cutting words, but he could only watch as Paul's presence loomed like a dark cloud as Sam responded. "Actually, I believe passion drives change more than profit ever could," the billionaire replied, his gaze unwavering as he turned back to Rosie. Mark felt something shift inside him. Hope sparked anew, filling the void that Paul had created. But in that charged moment, an unexpected twist awaited them all. Just as Rosie picked up her courage to speak again, someone from the back of the crowd exclaimed, "Wait, I know her." Every head turned, a ripple of intrigue spreading through the gallery. Who could this new figure be? The crowd parted like the sea, revealing a woman with wild curly hair and a radiant smile. She was dressed in a flowing, colorful dress that danced as she moved. Mark squinted to get a better look, trying to place her in the tapestry of faces around them. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, as if she carried the joy of 100 bursting fireworks. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, her voice bright and melodic, "but I know this artist. She's amazing." Mark watched as Rosie's cheeks flushed a brilliant shade of red. The woman continued, "I encountered her work at a community fair a few months ago. Your painting brought so much hope to those struggling around the city. I never forgot it." A collective gasp echoed through the room. Rosie's eyes widened, pulling her hand back from the frame, as if the energy of the crowd surged around her, lifting her spirits. Mark felt a flutter of excitement in his chest. "Really? You remember me?"
Rosie asked, her voice just above a whisper. "Of course. You paint with so much heart. You made me feel seen. Your passion poured out from every stroke. It changed my perspective on art. It reminded me that it can heal, you know?" The woman replied with genuine warmth, stepping closer to Rosie. Sam watched the scene unfold, intrigue lighting up his features. "This is incredible, Rosie," he remarked, his smile broadening. "You've already impacted lives without even realizing it." Paul, lingering close but now entirely overshadowed, crossed his arms, annoyance flickering in his eyes while he tried to regain his footing in the conversation. Mark noticed the slight worry that danced on Paul's face. This wasn't the reaction he had expected tonight. "What's your name?" Rosie asked the woman, her voice blossoming with newfound confidence. "Lila," the woman replied, her eyes twinkling. "And I'm here because I also want to tell you that your work matters. It's more than just art. It's a bridge to understanding." Mark could feel a swell of pride as Rosie gained momentum. Her timid demeanor began to fade into the background, replaced by a rising tide of determination. "Thank you, Lila. I just want to make a difference," Rosie said, her voice growing stronger. "That's the spirit," Lila encouraged, clapping her hands together. "You have a gift, and there are people out there just like me who need your art." "Is that how you ended up here?" Sam asked, eagerness threading through his tone. "Oh yes," Lila laughed warmly. "I used to be homeless with my daughter. We lived in a shelter, and the art programs helped us navigate our hardships. I became an artist myself, and now I'm working with local kids to inspire their creativity." "You have to keep sharing your light, Rosie. It could transform lives." Mark scanned the gallery, the once intricate dynamics shifting towards a beautiful energy, one filled with openness and understanding. He sensed a collective connection forming between Rosie and those around her. Yet, in the back of his mind lay a darker twinge of doubt that Paul might not allow this moment to flourish. "So, what's next for you, sweetheart?" Lila asked Rosie, her kind eyes shining. I don't know. I just hope maybe someone will see my art and—" Her voice faltered, the vulnerability creeping back in. Paul scoffed, the disruption stirring the air once more.
Hope isn't enough, Rosie. You need more than dreams to succeed. Before Mark could react, Sam interjected, his voice steady and authoritative. Actually, it can be enough if you're willing to work hard. Hope is the foundation of all great art, and we need more of it in this world. The tension crackled, and Mark sensed a pivotal moment forming. No one spoke. The crowd leaned in, awaiting Rosie's response. Would she let Paul's words cloud her spirit once more, or would she rise to the challenge, embracing the momentum?
But the question lingered as the room fell silent, bringing everything to a standstill. Would the darkness snuff out Rosie's light, or could this transformative moment change everything? In the thick silence, Rosie took a deep breath. Her heart raced, each pulse echoing in her ears like the steady beat of a drum. She found Lila's encouraging gaze anchoring her, knitting a thread of courage into her chest. "You know," she began, her voice trembling but firm, "maybe that's true. Maybe I do need more than just hope. But hope can spark change. It's what keeps people moving forward." The crowd seemed to exhale in unison, and Mark felt the energy pulse through the room. Lila nodded appreciatively, and even Paul's scowling features flickered for just a moment, revealing a subtle crack in his annoyance. "Exactly. Hope is the first step," Lila exclaimed, spreading her arms wide. "It's like paint on a canvas. You can't create a masterpiece without it." Sam chimed in, his tone supportive. "Rosie, remember why you started painting in the first place. What drove you to pour your heart into your art?" Mark watched Rosie, eyes wide, searching for the answer within herself. It was like watching a flower bloom in slow motion. Her brows furrowed as she recalled nights spent alone, every brushstroke a release of emotion. Because it made me feel alive. It helped me express everything I couldn't say out loud," she confessed, glancing around the room, seeking understanding. An unseen connection simmered among the crowd. The air thickened with emotion, as if everyone felt the weight of her words. She wasn't just revealing a piece of herself. She was daring them to connect, to care. Suddenly, Paul stepped closer, a mix of bravado and skepticism, determined not to lose grip on the upper hand. "Fine. What happens when hope doesn't translate to reality, Rosie? What's your plan?" Lila shot a glance at Paul, her expression sharp. "Life isn't always about plans, Paul. Sometimes it's about taking the first step, even if that first step is filled with uncertain hope." Rosie felt a surge of defiance rise within her, pushing past Paul's harshness. "Maybe that's exactly how it begins," she defended, raising her chin. "I may not have a concrete plan, but I have a vision. My art speaks, a story for those who don't feel heard. If I can touch even one life, even yours, Paul, then it's worth it." Mark's heart swelled, the warmth of adrenaline flushing through him. The crowd realized they were no longer just observers. They were participants in this unfolding story. Many nodded silently, faces reflecting a growing wave of support. Paul paused, perhaps thrown off balance by Rosie's conviction. He opened his mouth to retaliate, but then hesitated. In that brief moment, a flicker of uncertainty danced in his eyes. "See?" Lila said softly, beaming at Rosie. "You're already igniting something here." The whispers of the crowd seemed to wrap around Rosie like a comforting blanket. She shifted her focus to them, her spirit soaring above the doubt trying to rein her in. "I want to host workshops for kids," she announced suddenly. "Teach them to express themselves through art. I know how powerful it can be." "Now that's a plan," Sam cheered, his excitement bubbling over. Mark felt his own spirit lift, hope glistening as he saw the change taking place in Rosie, the fierce passion igniting within her heart. Was it possible? Could this be the turning point for her? "Would you need help?" Leela asked, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "I'd love to volunteer." "Yes, absolutely," Rosie replied, her voice gaining strength as ideas streamed through her mind. "Together, we could do something special. Art has the power to heal." As the crowd began to murmur in agreement, transforming the gallery from a mere showcase of paintings to a vibrant community alive with possibility, Rosie took a step forward, grounding herself in her truth. Just then, the door swung open with a loud creak. Everyone turned. A tall man with sharp features stepped into the gallery, scanning the crowd, and finally fixing his gaze on Rosie. The room fell silent again, all eyes on this newcomer. What would he bring to this pivotal moment? "Who are you?" Mark whispered to himself, the tension taut in the air. As Rosie met the stranger's piercing gaze, her heart raced yet again. Was he here to challenge her hope or join the momentum? The man paused in the doorway,
the dim light casting long shadows across his face. He was striking, though not in a way that reassured. There was a stormy intensity in his eyes that made Rosie both anxious and oddly drawn in. As he stepped closer, silence blanketed the room, thick with anticipation. "Rosie?" His voice was low, resonating through the gallery like a bell. Yes, she stammered, caught off guard. "I'm here to see your work," he continued, appearing to dismiss the crowd surrounding her. "I'm Julian." His name hung heavy in the air, and Rosie felt a pulse of recognition amidst her bewilderment. "Your paintings are stunning. They speak to a depth I rarely see," he said, his expression softening just a fraction. "I've followed your journey, the way you pour your heart into your art." The crowd stirred, stealing glances at one another, intrigued yet uneasy. Rosie felt the weight of their gazes. Julian didn't seem to fully belong to this space. He was a world apart, wrapped in an air of wealth and influence that felt almost tangible. What do you want from me?" Rosie managed to ask, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. "I want to offer you something," he said, leaning in slightly. "Your vision for the workshops? It's something I believe in. I can help make it happen." The offer hung between them, a shimmering possibility. Rosie's breath caught in her throat. How could someone so powerful care about her dreams? For a moment, doubt flickered in her mind. Was this a game? Another hollow promise? Why? Paul stepped forward from the sidelines, skepticism crawling across his features again. "What's in it for you?" Julian's gaze shifted, the edge of irritation sparking in his eyes. "I've seen too many lost potential. I was one of them. Art saved me, and now I want to pass it on." The atmosphere twisted, suddenly charged with emotion and vulnerability. Leland nudging them to lean in, to feel the import of the moment unfolding. Rosie's heart was a riot of emotions, trying to follow the rapid shifts in her mind. "Do you have any idea how hard it is to secure funding for something like this?" she challenged, adrenaline thrumming through her. "When you're not from a privileged background?" Julian's jaw tightened, but he held her gaze, his resolve clear. "I do. I've faced rejection countless times, yet here I am, extending a hand. The choice is yours." Tension thickened in the air, wrapping everyone in a shared breath. Rosie could sense the crowd awaiting her answer, the way they leaned forward, hoping she would grab at the opportunity held before her. "What do you say, Rosie?" Sam's encouraging voice broke through the fog, bringing light to the tangled thoughts weaving in her brain. A mixture of excitement and fear pumped through her veins. What if Julian was sincere? What if he would be the catalyst for her dreams? But what if it was a trap? I need time to think," she finally replied, her voice steady but soft. "Of course," Julian said, his demeanor calming. "Take all the time you need. I'll be around." As he stepped back, the crowd began to murmur, their words laced with speculation. Rosie's heart hammered wildly, caught between thrill and trepidation. When their eyes met again, something glimmered. Could this be the beginning of something remarkable? Mark watched Rosie, her cheeks flushed and her eyes shimmering with possibility. The room echoed with excitement, but a nagging uncertainty threaded around Rosie's heart. What would happen next? "Not everyone gets a chance like this," Leela encouraged, her voice low, full of warmth. Rosie turned, battling the urge of fear with the flame of hope blooming within her. But the looming question hung heavier than before. Could she trust this man who had stepped into her life out of nowhere? Just then, the front door creaked open once more. A young girl stumbled in, dirty and worn, but with a fierce light in her eyes that seemed to pierce right through the tension. Rosie's heart flipped. Who was this girl? What untold story lay behind those determined eyes? "Please, I need your help," she implored, barely catching her breath. And just like that, the energy shifted yet again, sending ripples through Rosie's world. Rosie felt the room tighten around her as all eyes shifted to the girl who had burst in. The girl's wild hair framed her face, and smudges of dirt stained her clothes. Yet there was a beautiful urgency in her stance. She stood tall, a beacon of determination amidst uncertainty. "What's wrong?" Rosie asked softly, stepping closer, her instinct to protect igniting. The girl's eyes locked onto hers, a mix of fear and hope swirling within. "I need a place to stay," she gasped, her words spilling out like a broken dam. "I heard about your art, about how you help kids find their voices. I thought, maybe you can help me too." Rosie's heart ached. She could read the desperation in the girl's eyes. It mirrored feelings she'd known all too well. Just then, whispers curled through the crowd, curiosity mingled with concern. "Where did you come from?" Paul asked, his voice rising, skepticism rolling off him in waves. The girl took a breath, her composure faltering for just a moment. I was living in a shelter, but she paused, searching for the right words. It's not safe anymore. They're taking kids away. I just want to paint, she finished, a tremor in her voice. Rosie felt a fire rekindle within her. She glanced at Julian, who stood back, watching the girl as if spellbound. The intensity in his eyes softened, revealing a sliver of understanding. Was he thinking of his own past? Painting? Rosie echoed, her heart racing. The girl nodded furiously, her cheeks flushing. Show me, Rosie urged, her pulse quickening. The girl hesitated, glancing back toward the door as if it might close up behind her. I don't have my things, just a notebook. Bring it, Rosie insisted, already feeling the energy buzz in the room. The crowd, once lined with skepticism, leaned in closer, captivated as hope wove through their hearts. The girl's face broke into a small smile, but it was quickly followed by fear. But what if they come looking for me? Then we deal with that together, Rosie said, the conviction in her voice radiating confidence. I've got your back. Just then, Julian stepped forward, his deep voice cutting through the tension. If she paints, then we can give her the resources she needs. Art can be a sanctuary. Rosie looked at Julian, disbelief mingling with admiration. Did he truly understand? Did this stranger possess a heart that could rival his ambition? Please, the girl whispered again, eyes darting between them. The expectant silence settled heavier than before, the weight of all their stories pressing in. Rosie had always dreamed of making a difference, but this was an unexpected twist. She thought of her own struggles, the fear of failure, the longing for a champion. Okay, she finally said, her voice resolute. You can stay. We'll figure this out together. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a wave of relief washing over them. But within Rosie, a new fear stirred. Could she truly help this girl without losing herself in the process? As the girl grinned, the crowd's applause dimmed into a hum of excitement.
The moment held promise, but as Rosie looked into Julian's eyes, questions lingered. What if this was more than just a chance to help? Before she could voice her thoughts, Julian spoke up, his tone shifting. I have a proposal. If we can bring this girl's art to life, it might just unlock greater opportunities for both of you. Rosie's heart raced. What did that mean? What strings might come with such a promise? The girl's face lit up, while a tight knot formed in Rosie's chest. She felt torn. Could she trust Julian? And more importantly, could she guide the young girl and herself through the uncertain shadows that lay ahead? Let's not rush, Rosie managed, sensing the gravity of the moment when the girl's smile faded, replaced by doubt. We need to take this one step at a time. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, but within Rosie, a fierce question roared. Could she lead without risking everything? And just as the room buzzed with newly birthed excitement, the front door swung open again, revealing a shocked face that would shatter the fragile hopes they had just begun to weave. The room fell into a hush as the newcomer stepped inside. A tall man in a tailored suit, looking like he had just stepped off a corporate jet, stood frozen in the doorway. His eyes darted around the room before landing on the girl, her youthful spirit contrasting sharply with his polished demeanor. Charlotte? He called out, confusion lacing his voice, as if he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. The girl's face fell, the light in her eyes dimming in an instant. Dad? She whispered, disbelief mixing with dread. The name hung in the air like a whispered secret. Where have you been? He said, anger simmering just below the surface. I've been looking everywhere for you. His eyes roamed, taking in the paint-stained walls, the flickering candlelight, the group of eager onlookers who stood as silent witnesses to this unfolding drama. Rosie stepped forward, her heart racing. She had felt hopeful just moments ago, but now that hope was twisting into something heavy and confusing. She was just what? He interrupted, eyes narrowing at Rosie. In a shelter? With these people? His disdain was palpable as he looked around at the crowd. The warmth of the moment evaporated, replaced by a chill. Yes, she came here looking for help, Rosie retorted, feeling protective instincts surge within her again. She just wants to paint. Paint? The man scoffed, shaking his head as if the very idea was ludicrous. At that moment, Charlotte seemed to crumble under her father's gaze. Do you think you can escape just because of a couple of brushstrokes? You're coming home with me right now. No! Charlotte's voice wavered,
but was filled with conviction. "I don't want to go back. You don't understand." "But I do understand," he said, stepping towards her, reaching a hand out. "You need help, Charlotte, not to be wasting your time here."
This isn't where you belong." Rosie watched helplessly, seeing the struggle within the girl. The doorway, once a symbol of escape, now felt like a trap. "I'm not wasting my time," Charlotte shot back, anger lighting her features. "They believe in me. They see me for who I really am." "Your friends won't save you. This is a fantasy." He gestured wildly, an effort to dismiss the art and the hope painted across the room. Charlotte's expression hardened. "It's not a fantasy. I can't go back to being invisible. They make me feel alive. Dad, please." Tears began to stream down her cheeks, raw vulnerability spilling out into the charred air. Watching this tug of war, Rosie felt her chest tighten. A whirlwind of regret and hope spiraled inside her as she realized the stakes had just changed. Could she really protect Charlotte from this force? Julian stepped forward, a fierce resolve in his eyes. "You think your daughter is in danger here? You don't know what she's been through." The man straightened, thrown off by Julian's assertion. "And you, who are you to protect her? This is none of your business." "I may not be family," Julian replied, voice steady, "but I know how art can save someone. She deserves to be heard. Aren't you tired of silencing her?" Rosie felt embers of hope reignite, but the air was thick with tension. Was it a fight they were ready to engage in? Charlotte met Rosie's gaze, and in that moment an unspoken bond formed. "Please, Rosie, can I paint? Just for a little while longer?" The question hung in the air, pulling at Rosie's heartstrings. Rosie opened her mouth to respond, but just then a siren wailed in the distance, a reminder that they weren't as safe as they wished to be. Would they stand together, or would fear divide them? As everyone held their breath, Rosie felt the room shift again, teetering on the edge of a precipice. Each choice would lead to an entirely different path. What could happen next? The tension was palpable, thickening the air around them like a fog. Everyone in the gallery stood frozen, their eyes darting between the intimidating figure of Charlotte's father and the desperate girl who had found herself torn between the chains of her past and the vibrant colors of her dreams. "Charlotte, you have to come with me," he pressed, desperation lacing his voice. "This nonsense needs to end now." His disappointment was palpable, but the determination in Charlotte's eyes only grew. "No," Charlotte cried, her voice rising above the silence. "I can't go back. You don't understand. Art saved me. It showed me a way to express what I never could." The raw emotion in her voice resonated with Rosie, who held the weight of the moment deep in her chest. Mark watched, his heart pounding. He stepped forward, channeling all his protective instincts. "She has every right to be here. If she wants to paint and share her story, that's her choice." His words were firm, colored with the conviction of a father who had just begun to understand what compassion truly meant. Charlotte's father scoffed. "This is all just a stunt, a whirlpool of misguided intentions." "Maybe guided intentions are what we all need," Julian retorted, stepping beside Mark, his eyes unwavering. "Believing in someone can sometimes be the strongest support anyone can offer. Charlotte deserves that chance." "Art isn't a joke, sir," Rosie interjected. "It lifts spirits and heals wounds. You have no right to take that away from her." She felt solidarity flow through her, uniting her with the others, a powerful force against the shadows behind Charlotte's father. Eyes blazed with purpose. Lila joined in, her voice steady. "You're wrong. Art does save lives. It gives people like Charlotte a purpose, a place to belong, and that's not something she should ever give up." Overwhelmed but resolute, Charlotte stepped toward the canvas, picking up a brush and trembling. "This is who I am," she declared, the power behind her words shaking the gallery walls. "You can't take that away from me." A small gasp echoed through the room, a collective moment of realization washing over them all. Mark's heart swelled with pride as he recognized the beauty of this moment. They weren't just defending Charlotte, they were uniting as a community, stitching their diverse lives together through a shared purpose. "You see?" Julian said, his voice filled with quiet strength. "That's real power. That's real art." Mark turned to Paul, who had been lurking at the edges of the crowd, seeing him take in the charged scene. Maybe this could change him too. Maybe, for once, Paul would see the value in something he had overlooked all his life. The silence was deafening as everyone awaited the father's next move.
He opened his mouth but faltered, unsure of how to counter what he clearly didn't understand. And then, almost surprisingly, the tension began to unravel as Charlotte's father stepped back, his eyes widening in realization. "Charlotte," he said, his voice faltering, "you really feel this strongly?" "I do," she insisted, her grip on her brush tightening, tears glistening in her eyes. "And I need to believe that I can change my story, so it isn't just about escaping, it's about who I can become." Around the gallery, soft murmurs of support echoed, rhythmic like a heartbeat as hope rippled through the crowd. In that moment, Mark realized what had shifted. The pendulum was swinging towards light, towards understanding. With a sigh, Charlotte's father's expression softened, the anger melting into confusion. "And your friends, they believe in you? They see you?" "Yes," she exclaimed, her voice soaring. "They see me." The atmosphere fluctuated, your heart racing with anticipation. The weight of the world seemed to lift, replaced by a bubbling hope filtering through the crowd.
It felt like a rebirth, the boundaries between their worlds dissolving as compassion surged. Mark squeezed Mia's hand and saw how proud she was, her bright eyes shining with an understanding far beyond her years. "You've always been important, Charlotte. You deserve to be seen," Mark said, his voice even stronger now. In that moment, Charlotte's father took a step back. A soft resignation fell over him, the lines of his face softening as he glanced around the gallery. "Maybe I've been too focused on the past, instead of seeing what's right in front of me," he said quietly. And suddenly, it hit Mark how profoundly this night had transformed everyone within its walls, including him. Charlotte moved forward, boldly taking the leap into her future. "So, can we be a part of this? Can we keep painting together?" A wave of agreement rippled through the crowd. "Absolutely," Leela beamed, stepping beside her like a guiding star, embracing the dawning realization that they were all in this together. Julian looked at the group, his spirit alight with purpose. "Let's make this happen. We'll organize workshops, art shows, whatever it takes to lift everyone's voices." Applauses erupted, a symphony of encouragement washing over them, igniting that spark of possibility even higher. And as Charlotte looked at Rosie, gratitude flowing from her like colors on a freshly painted canvas, there was a clarity that united them all. They were held together in this moment, a bond stronger than any before. "Thank you," Charlotte whispered, her teary smile bright and unwavering. "You've given me hope." Mark felt a tear slip down his cheek, mixing with the laughter and applause in a blend of joy. The night had swirled into something greater than any of them could have anticipated. They had turned a moment of fear into a celebration of love and acceptance. As the warmth enveloped them, Mark and Mia shared a look of understanding. The seeds of their own transformation had been sown. You don't build an empire of wealth, but an empire of connection, of hope, of dreams forged between hearts beating together. This night didn't just change Charlotte's life, it had changed all of theirs forever. Every action mattered. Every voice shaped the world. "Let's keep this momentum," Mark said, ignited by a powerful force, the lingering shadows finally giving way to light. "This isn't just a chapter, it's the beginning of something amazing." They had taken the first step together, and it was just the beginning. As the crowd continued the applause, Mark smiled wide, feeling lightness in the air as laughter and chatter sprinkled joy throughout the night. Here was a new table set for connection, for promise, for a future they'll build together, brick by colorful brick. And as the light flooded in, a pivotal truth emerged. They were all richer than they had ever known. Embrace change, embrace each other. And in that spirit, as the night went on, Mark whispered a silent promise to those gathered, his heart full of hope and gratitude. Language didn't matter, culture didn't divide, and profit was now measured in passion and purpose. The story they were all writing wasn't just an encounter, it was becoming a legacy. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that bell and mark all notifications. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your support means the world. Let's keep weaving stories together.